into the offense. Boy, it's a shame, Brendan. I feel bad.
But still, in his last 13 games, James Harden's still averaging over 40. So the average doesn't take that much of a dip when you score 38.
Well, when your most efficient offense for a month in the NBA is all one player and handling every single responsibility in the absence of Chris Paul, it doesn't diminish anything he's done, certainly, by any means. But this is a really big win for Portland. Portland gets what they needed from Nurkic again tonight. He's starting to develop into that consistent third option for them.
I can't even tell you what Portland was doing tonight because I was focusing strictly on James Harden down the stretch of this basketball game.
At least you're
US
being
dollar.
honest. No, well, you say Nurkic, okay, is averaging 22 points, 12 rebounds over his last 5 games. And we always talk about Portland, Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum. Do they have a third person they can rely on? We're seeing it 6, 7, 8 games in a row now from him. Do you trust him to do it for longer stretches, or is this just a good run from him?
I think I trust him to do it on the offensive end a little more than I do the defensive end. And where they're going to continue to grow and evolve is their ability to lock down on that side of the ball. Because they're so small in the backcourt, they need their length in their wings and Aminu and Mo Harkless to be there for them. And they really need Nurkic and Zach Collins to continue to grow.
I just want to know who's going to step up and be the third guy from a perimeter standpoint. When I think about this Portland team, I know what they can do in the regular season, and we saw it a lot last year. But the difference was in the playoffs. I watched the Pelicans really spend a lot of time putting 2 on the ball as far as attacking C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard and Aminu, Harkless, Evan Turner. Those guys couldn't hit enough shots to get Portland out of that trapping style defense. And I have a feeling that type of style defense will be played against Portland sooner than later, especially when we talk about winning time this season. Does Portland have enough perimeter scoring to get them out of that?
You mentioned hitting shots. How about an NBA record set tonight between the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings? Most three-pointers in a single game between two teams. And they hit 41 three-pointers. Steph Curry, 42 points.
Chef was cooking it up tonight. 42, 14 to 26. I know Griff loves that efficiency.
Fun to watch, too. The way they were getting him the ball, letting him rock out a little bit, letting him take some step-back threes. And then they returned to form a little bit in terms of their ability to move the ball. Klay Thompson, again, looking good, coming off of screens, looking more like himself.
Steph Curry with 10 of those three-pointers, passed Kyle Korver, 4th most three-pointers in NBA history. When you play like that, you do the interview after the game. So this is the second time in a month in which we've seen the Golden State Warriors give up a ridiculous amount of three-pointers to a team and still win the game. Sacramento shot 55% from three-point range, hit 20 of them in the game. Against the LA Clippers last month, they shot 75% from three-point range. Golden State still pulled it out. It's just miraculous the way they're able to win games.
It is, and I thought it was interesting when they started the interview. She asked what was said between you and Steve Kerr. I looked real quickly at Steve Kerr's career three-point shooting numbers. Here's a guy who led the league one year at 50.7%, led the league at 52.4% one year, played 16 seasons in the NBA, and in, I'm going to say, at least 7 of those seasons, did not make 41 threes in the entire season. Those two teams combined for 41 threes tonight. So I'm sure that was the little nugget he shared with Steph Curry. It's amazing to see that. But the way the game is played now, and without them having a real rim protector, without JaVale McGee, without Damian Jones, they're flooding the lane to try to protect the paint, and that's making getting out to cover the three-point line much more difficult.
Yeah, when you don't have that big man in there that does those type of things, it does make it harder for you. And you have to basically find a different way to play defense. And that different way has left the Golden State Warriors a little bit more vulnerable. And then at the offensive end, on nights where Klay Thompson isn't hitting or Draymond Green is a little bit lost offensively, sometimes that ball can get to sticking because that's when Steph or that's when Kevin say, hey, I'm just going to try to go into ISO mode. And that's kind of not the way that Steve Kerr wants his team to play. He has fought tooth and nail to get them out of ISO mode. So we've seen some chinks in the armor with Golden State, but tonight I think we saw the best of what, not the best of what Golden State can be, but they reminded us who they were. excellent night shooting the ball. 21 of 47 from three. That's absolutely smoking.
And think about what you said, the best of what Golden State can be, and Sacramento was right there the entire time.
This young team is coming.
Oh, it's incredible. The strides that team has made, remarkable.
They have good young players in place. They're heading in the right direction. I remember when they traded DeMarcus Cousins for Buddy Hield, and I thought to myself, wow, that's a mistake. And now you see with the way Buddy has grown and the way the culture of this organization has changed, with Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox leading this young nucleus, things are headed in the right direction.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on, too. Warriors still struggling to find bench points, just 19 points off the bench, where Justin Jackson had 28 points off the bench for the Sacramento Kings. That's really a way that they stayed in this game down to the wire. Kawhi Leonard leading the charge for the Toronto Raptors against the Milwaukee Bucks. What a front court, what a night. A game you saw right here on NBA TV. Popular players in the world hadn't been matched in years. In this episode of Storytime with Shaq, Ro Parrish talks to Diesel about that game and his relationship with Yao throughout their careers.
Tonight, the Rockets doing battle with the Los Angeles Lakers, and it's not just a game, it's a happening. I'm telling you folks, everybody who is anybody in the Houston area or in Texas is here tonight to see this battle. It's the first matchup ever between Yao Ming and Shaquille O'Neal.
What do you remember when you're first stepping in the circle with Yao Ming the first time you two played each other?
Knew nothing about him. Knew he was 7'5", 7'8", so we got to Houston and Yao Ming. I'm like, okay, they trying to do like Rocky IV, Apollo Creed, all this and that. They want to give him the fanfare. So I said, okay. So, I wanted to give him a little finesse. I wanted to show him I was smooth. So I get on the post, and I go right there. He blocks it. Crowd go crazy. You got that. You 7'8", you're supposed to block it. Get another move. He blocks it. Third time he blocks it. Now I'm mad. Now I got to go in the playoff mode. Now I got to turn the power, turn it all the way up. It's the first time I got my shot blocked 3 times in a row. But what gave me the super confidence is, hey, you done killed Patrick Ewing. You done killed David Robinson. You neck and neck with your favorite player, Hakeem Olajuwon. He's a young kid. Turn it up. Go into that mode. But it was definitely a fun battle between me and him. Definitely respect him. Definitely respect his culture. I go to China 5-6 times a year. Whenever I'm in Shanghai, we always have tea. We always have great conversation. I just wish that he didn't have those injuries that he had. I would have loved to have more battles with him. He's probably the only guy that really tested me. And he tested me because he was 7'8", and he was hard to move. He couldn't stop me, but guess what? I couldn't stop him either. I put him in the category of a king. Like, hey, King, you can't stop me, but I know I can't stop that fadeaway. And he was the only guy that would catch it in the post and look at me. He just looked like, y'all just look at me, and then I'd come and try to block it, and he just shoot right over me. Whoop. I'd be like, damn. But the funny thing, the first couple of times, China, language barrier, I never knew he spoke English. So one day I hit him with a nice bing, bing on the baseline. Ha ha! Shot the boom. He's like, nice move, brother. And I was like, you talk English? He's like, yeah, I'm talking. I was like, why you didn't tell me? He said, Shaq, you never talked to me. I was like, man. So after that moment, like, we, really became close.
Shaq, every game we played remind me of the old saying that what doesn't kill you make you stronger. Thank you for that.
And I was honored to be on the same stage as him during Hall of Fame weekend. When you talk about the history of basketball, long after we're gone, hopefully this conversation will still be around when East meets West.
Cool moment during that Hall of Fame ceremony. You actually got to put the jacket on. He was struggling. What happened exactly when he was trying to put on his jacket?
Well, he's a big dude, and when you get really big and you get older, you start to get stiff like a tree. So I'm sure his shoulders are kind of banged up a little bit. So I said, let me help you out, brother. But he's the only dude that makes me feel small. They say he's 7'6", but he's like my favorite convenience store. He's 7-Eleven all day. He's 7-Eleven.
Talk about his impact globally just on the game of basketball.
He's done a lot for China. He's done a lot for the game of international basketball. And, I don't think there's anybody bigger or better that could have done the job. When I go to China, everybody mentions Yao Ming. It's like a god over there.
It's incredible to see a guy half a foot taller than Shaq. Brendan, you played against Yao as well. What was it like? You're a 7-footer. The first time you step on a court with a guy half a foot taller than you when you're used to being half a foot taller than everybody else.
It was incredibly different for me because I'm used to being taller than everybody else, or at least being eye level. And with Yao Ming, it was something different. He was so tall. He had a height advantage. And something that was weird to me was I literally could not see the ball coming up the court when I was behind him. So, like, guys would be like, why didn't you call it the screen? Like, I couldn't see you. I really couldn't see him. And so Yao presented a lot of challenges, especially trying to guard him. He had some very good moves. He had counters. He had spins. He had some step backs. Did I make that? Okay, I got a couple of highlights off on Yao, but for the most part, it was very hard for me to guard Yao Ming because he really didn't have to jump much, and he kept the ball high. If you really watch Yao in his highlights, he just has that ball, and he's moving it here, and you respond to his fake so much because he keeps the ball high. He's incredibly tall. He was very skilled, and he had a lot of stuff in his game, and Jeff Van Gundy did an excellent job of what I would call using weak side duck-in, something that we don't use nowadays in the game of basketball, where they would run a screen and roll on this side of the court with Tracy McGrady. And I would have to respond and come off of Yao's body. And then he would just duck in that lane and get big and catch the ball. And there was nothing I could do a lot of times. Playing against Yao was very challenging.
Griff, when you look at someone like Yao Ming, you think of his career, and it was a great career, but cut short due to injuries. How great could he have been if he would have stayed healthy?
Yeah, and I think about how good that Houston Rockets team could have been. They had the 07 team, I think, won 22 games in a row with T-Mac and Yao. And both of those guys had really significant injuries. I think that year only one of them was able to play even 60 games. I think Yao played 66 maybe. T-Mac may have played like 55. But they weren't ever able to stay on the court together. But when they did, they were so truly elite. We were really robbed of seeing the best of that team as well. The other thing that really stands out to me is when the legend of Yao is being told by Shaq, Yao will have been 8'3". He started at 7'6", and he called him 7'11" by the end.
That is pretty funny. I mean, I guess for Shaq, he's not used to looking up, so then he just adds inches to that, right? Well, that's a former Rocket great. The ascension up the MVP ladder for current Rocket. We'll tell you who's moving on up. I think you know who it is. That's up next.